Hello and welcome to this edition of Elvenhome, which concentrates really on a couple of things. A piece of kit that I bought to help me make window frames, which I'm really impressed with, and also a general update on the build of Elvenhome and some scenic work that I've been doing in and around the layout. And also my attempt to get 5 trains running at the same time, which is what's currently going on behind me, but at least I hope it is, but you should be able to see a bit more in the video. So let's first of all turn to my problem of my wonky window frames. You may recall in the last video that I was talking about having to build or construct the window frames for all the windows, and that I had built some already and I was not looking forward to building the remainder, partly because of the difficulty in accurately cutting out all the pieces you need to create each window frame. And it's only 4 pieces of strip styrene. I think these are 1.5 millimeters wide, I think. I can't remember, lost that one. And the side pieces for the windows on the ground floor are half round to give some kind of shape to it. I did try using a mitre block to try and cut accurately 90-degree angles, but that's the difficulty. There is being able to cut accurately for depth, or length rather, of the piece. The alternative, which I then adopted, was using the vernier caliper set to whatever depth I wanted, and then butt one piece of the plastic up against the caliper and cut down with a craft knife. The only problem with that is it's actually quite good for getting the accuracy of the length, but a craft knife doesn't necessarily make a clean cut because of course it's got a beveled edge. And coming back and looking at these window frames now that I've put them away, it just reminded me that I really wasn't very happy with them, that the cuts were not neat at the edge. You can try sanding, but actually that it still doesn't give you a decent result, and what you need to be able to do is make good clean cuts at the start. So I have just this minute ordered, and we'll, when it comes and I've started using it, I'll show you the results. Something that I've seen online, which some of you may know about, which is a JLC product. They're a Czech company, a razor saw, which is a very fine razor saw, which looks to use a kind of modified razor blade, only with teeth rather than just a clean edge, but also a mitre block, which is adjustable and adjustable for cutting angles, but with what is effectively a depth gauge on it, a stop where you can butt your piece of plastic or pipe or whatever it is you're trimming, and that's adjustable over the kinds of distances that I'm going to need, which are always going to be quite small. So I'm looking forward to that arriving. It's not cheap, but I'll talk more about it once I've arrived and started using it, and we'll see whether that gives me better outcomes so that I can have window frames that don't make me cringe every time I look at them. So we'll come back once that's arrived and see how that goes. In this shortish section, I just want to update you on the work that's going on, in particular thinking about the planning of High Elven, which I'll turn to in just a moment, and just what little work I've been doing by way of scenic work actually on the layout. And not much is the answer, but I did manage yesterday to get some time, firstly to put some paint down. And it's amazing the transformation it has made to that board, just putting that bit of grey paint down. I am going to put something on top eventually, but I want a base. And I've also started putting card, well, I've completed putting card on the walls that will be the retaining walls that you can see behind the 2 gasometers. I don't know if it's the same with you, but I need some strip styrene for the capping stones. And I have all sorts of shapes and sizes of strip styrene, but not just the right one to be able to do the capping stones. So I need to be able to get some more of those. And I also want to get some more of the Metcalfe stone card. I need to be able to put buttresses to support the wall. And I think I'm probably going to be putting into the area where the gasometers are, some of that, I'm going to put some of that Javis asphalt down. And obviously I've painted in the area where the scrapyard is going to go, because I'm quite determined to have my own little step-turn sun on the layout between the road as it comes down and the embankment that goes up to the depot for the railway. The other thing that I need to do is just to show you that I've managed to get the track arrive from Track Shack. If you've never used them, they're an Isle of Man company. Their prices are certainly the equivalent of some of the larger retailers like Hatton's or Rails, and sometimes even better. Despite being on the Isle of Man, if you order pretty much in time for them to be able to post it that day, it arrives the next day. It's extraordinary service. So if you've not come across them before, it's I think their website is track-shack. But if you just Google Track Shack Isle of Man, it will come up. And it's amazing the difference that it makes when you've managed to get some real track. I mean, I obviously I printed it out full size, was quite sure everything would fit, and rather pleasingly, if you can see, let me zoom in a bit more so you get a better idea. You can see the points are just laid out there, and it shows the accuracy of the plans from the curved points which split to take it off to the top end, goes down to the goods area, and the bottom brings you down into the station with its runaround loop and head shunt to allow that to happen, and where a small single engine shed will be, because there will be an engine stabled up here to help with shunting of goods traffic. So the thing that I think I've now got in my mind is that I am going to go with putting probably 2 boards. I've had a real think about how I get access. A number of people suggested cutting a hole in the baseboard to get access from below, but that is something I have steadfastly avoided doing. These baseboards were custom built for me because I don't have the means to do any major woodworking. I live in a 3rd floor flat, there's no external areas. I don't actually have much in the way of power tools. And a lot of the work that I've done, particularly with the raised area where all the points are for the depot, was to avoid drilling lots of holes in the baseboards in case, I reckon I've got 2 or 3 years before I finish this layout, but I don't believe that necessarily this is the only layout I'll ever build. This is, after all, the first layout that I've built, so I'm learning a lot. And whilst I'm thoroughly enjoying building this, I don't have an attachment to it that it will never change once it's built. And we do live in rented accommodation, and if we ever move, I'm going to need to be able to take this down. And what I don't want is a baseboard that has a great big hole in the middle that will take some repairing. So I think the answers for me are going to be something around, if I zoom out again, in this front area here, some kind of flap to give me access. It doesn't have to be the whole thing, and I can see my way fairly easily to being able to do that. I've checked clearances, and the point motor that is on that left-hand point there is clear of the line, as is the one on the curved point as it will come off the bridge. So I think we're in good fettle to start thinking about acquiring the wood and starting to make efforts to build Elvenhome. Not quite sure when I'm going to get the wood. I may have got it by the time of the next video, but it's, I think, more likely to be well into November before I can get that sorted. So that's the update on the layout, and now we'll go back to see what happened when the piece of kit that I mentioned in the previous section finally arrived. Well, as you can see, the saw has arrived. It arrived a couple of days ago, and I've started using it and getting more proficient in using it, and I have to say I'm very pleased with it indeed. I think I said in the last clip that this wasn't cheap. All in all, including postage, it cost me £52 for the saw and the mitre block. The saw on its own is the anniversary set, and I'll explain what's in the set very quickly. I'm not going to do a full unboxing and review because they can get a tad tedious at times. But I will show you a window frame that I have cut with this, which I could not possibly, I think, have cut using a knife or any other method that I currently had available to me. And for scratch building and modelling, particularly at end gauge, but any fine modelling and cutting, I think this is a really very good piece of kit. The mitre block on its own is £26. Which when you think about it, there isn't much of it, but it's money well spent as far as I'm concerned. So just very quickly, I bought the anniversary set, the JLC saw anniversary set, because it comes, I don't know what I might use it on. In the set, you get the saw itself, and this is the thing that I was talking about, which really is a razor blade, but it's very fine serrated teeth on there. And obviously is screwed into the handle. In the set, you get two other blades, and you get a set of, well, on the face of it, look like more sort of retainers. In fact, they're to enable you to have two blades separated so that you can cut a channel. The mitre block, and you'll see why I really wanted to get this. As you can see here, you can do 90 degrees, as you'd expect, 45 degrees or 60 degrees. But this is the thing that I was really after, which is essentially a depth gauge, a stop, so that when you butt the plastic up, and you can make it and cut very accurately because this is so fine for a particular distance. You can also set a mitred piece against it. That I think might have more limited value for a reason that I'll explain in just a minute. And obviously this goes up to a certain depth, and then you can set it at these two to provide longer depths. So I would think you would be able to do a piece, I'm not quite sure what that distance would be, about 80 millimeters perhaps, maybe. But this has proved its value straight away. You'll recall that I was a bit perturbed about the quality of my window frames. This again is one of the ones from the bottom, which has the half rounders uprights and two straight pieces. Now I don't think there's much more I can do with these, but I'll have a think about it. They're not too bad actually. When I went back and had a look, the thing that was worrying me was if I have four pieces, it's really the joins. The joins don't look too good at all. At only my second attempt, I was able, using the saw, to produce this, and that has fully mitred corners. So I've been able, I don't know if you'll be able to see, you can probably just see there, because you've got clean hands. You can just see there that those are mitred corners on a piece of strip styrene that is 1.5 millimeters. No, it must be more than that. Anyway, this piece of thin strip styrene, and you'll see one of the mitred ends, because that's where I finished cutting. I discovered when I was using this that to get accurate cuts, you do need to put some wedges in to stop this moving around, and that's easily done using other bits of strip styrene. Just pop those in there, and that stops that moving, which allows a cleaner cut. It's not quite as tight as I'd like it, but it's certainly good enough. And the other thing I had to remember when I was cutting is once you've made that cut, which is obviously the direction in which you're going to cut it, you have to turn it over to make the next cut. Otherwise all your angles are going to be the same and you won't be able to fit anything together, which would be annoying. So I'm really pleased with this. This now gives me no excuse for not getting on and making more of the window frames. I'm not going to do any recording of me making the window frames because I think that would be tedious. So the next time you see them, I hope, will be when they're all made and painted and on the hotel. But this is an excellent piece of kit. I'll put a link to the company from which I bought it. I think they're the only one selling it in the UK as far as I could see, but there may be others. It's called modellingtools.co.uk. I'm not being paid by them. I use my own money to buy this. But it's just such a good bit of kit that I thought for those who are interested in scratch building or needing to make fine cuts, I'd show you the thing and the results that I'm already getting with it. Well, I hope you enjoyed that edition of Elvenhome. If you liked it, please do give it the thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe and hit the bell notification so you know when I'm uploading. And thank you to all my new subscribers that have come on board. I'm nearly up to about 1,600, which is incredible. And I'm really grateful to every one of you. And if you've got any comments, please do leave them in the comment section below. They're all incredibly helpful in making me think about what I'm doing. And indeed, as you know, some of the things that are on here are only on here because some of you have suggested them in the comments. So that's it for this edition. And until I see you in about a fortnight's time, that's bye-bye from me. Bye-bye.